And we're live.
Welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo, where tattooers, apprentices, and the curious are all encouraged to gather together virtually and in person to share with each other, to inspire each other, and to ultimately get better tattoos. This is a Reinventing drawing group that happens every Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern with Jason Leeser. And if you are a tattooer or an artist who is interested in beaming in, then we would love to have you Zoom in. You can go to pick your poison, either of the app stores, the Apple App Store or the Google Play, I guess it's called, for your Androids, or straight to community.reinventingthetattoo.com. If you do a search for reinventingthetattoo.com, do a search for Reinventing the Tattoo in those app stores, download the app, and then the first link there is events. You click on it, and you will see the Zoom link. We can't share it out because then all the spammers get it. Speaking of, not sure where you're beaming in from. You might be on the YouTube or the Facebook or even listening to the podcast. But the best way to get a hold of all of the live programming and the replays is through this community. So yeah, give it a download. Please send us your constructive criticism, management@reinventingthetattoo.com. We want to hear how to make it better for you, and all of your kind words should go to those review places. And the YouTube channel and the podcast are all brand new, so please give them a follow, share them around, and let's get this rolling. It's pretty fun. Okay, so what else we have here? Oh, weekly events. Mondays at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern, we have a Reinventing drawing group similar to this with Jake Meeks from the Fireside Tattoo Network. Every Monday at 9 o'clock at night, we have an exclusive Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscriber exercise led by Guy Aitchison. So you can beam in with your exercise. Everyone's drawing out exercises from the week before and then moving on to the next one for that night. And you have an opportunity to get critiqued by Guy. It's pretty amazing. It's well worth the money. If you go to courses.reinventingthetattoo.com, you can check out the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon as well as a lot of other webinars. And most of them are courses. They're even more than webinars now. These are online courses that might have multiple webinars and chapters and all sorts of lessons. Some of them that are even free. Okay, special events that are coming up. Tuesday is karaoke with doing an interview with Guy Aitchison for the Reinventing the Tattoo podcast. And then you can check it out. Again, this programming is amazing. Last week we had the tattoo journalist did an interview with Phip Buchanan from San Diego, Avalon tattoo fame, and worked with Hardy and some of the amazing greats. It was a fantastic piece of history and contemporary. I mean, he's still here, and it's awesome to hear his thoughts. And Adriana, the tattoo journalist, did a great job. So, want to thank our sponsors, inkjetstencils.com. Oh man, I need to make a new landing page for them. But in the meantime, you can go to inkjetstencils.com. We also have some webinars inside of the Reinventing community where Donna and Andre and Frank, they all go through different steps to treat the tattoo images, either on the iPad or the Photoshop. Oh man, I've got Todd Snyder hammering at me in the background here. Well, if no one else is hearing it, it's okay. And if you are, it'll be okay too, I guess. Shit. So inkjetstencils.com to get your ink, save your wrists, save some time, save a little bit of dough. And then rawpigments.co. They are acrylic-free, vegan-based inks. They have some samples that you can get alongside some of the Cheyenne needle samples. If you go to reinventingthetattoo.com/equinox, you could sign up for a free ticket for the replay. Actually, we have the Android Jones visuals going on in the background. Aja Lu is playing a live stream to it, and it's pretty awesome. So yes, you have to. You don't have, well, you do. To get to these goodie bags, you need to sign up there. You'll get the link for the watch page, and then you can scroll down, and you'll get the link. You put in your address, answer a couple of questions, and then we will send you a pretty awesome goodie bag. And if you've already signed up, they are actively being packaged up and being shipped out. So thank you to rawpigments.co, to Cheyenne, and ultimately Reinventing the Tattoo and Guy Aitchison for helping make all of this happen all the time. So I am going to now, some affiliates. I want to thank the Fireside Tattoo Network. He's got Jake Meeks has got a great YouTube channel and podcast. Amy Nichols from the Apprentice Diaries is also awesome. Check out her podcast and YouTube channel. And then, I'm going to beam into the background. If this is working for you, please let us know in the chat room and share it around. Let us know what you think. Thank you very much. And actually, I can't control this. Jason's going to ping me away, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Gabe.
Later. Take it easy, Gabe.
Well, I'm just going to switch over to gallery view. I've got Ricardo Sturdivant here as well. Thank you for joining me as always, Ricardo. Always appreciated.
Yeah, man.
We always end up having some great conversations. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure, dude. It's always a good time to be here.
You don't have your headphones on, do you?
No, I don't. Can you not hear me very well?
I mean, we could tell the difference, but it's
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming through all right.
Believe it or not, Gabe, I just moved into a new apartment, and I'm working on getting a station for everything, so that way when I sit down and do this, it'll be there every time I get on. So that's
awesome.
That's
I'm only half joking because those headphones are magic, as you know.
Yeah, for sure. Can't believe it. So, what you working on today, there, Jason?
Well, I've decided to go back through and revisit a concept sketch for a painting that I'm going to be doing next Monday. I got in touch with a couple of very good friends and very, very talented tattooers in the area in which I live. Rich Wren, who owns and runs Relic Tattoo, and another very good friend, Brian Donovan, who owns and runs Davidian Tattoo. And both are phenomenal artists, and I've known Rich for quite a few years. I haven't known Brian that long, but great guy, absolutely phenomenal guy, very knowledgeable, very personable. And we're all going to get together and sit down and do some painting and some drawing and talking some shop and, just catching up with each other because I haven't seen either of them in months. So, but I want to show up prepared because, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Try to say that like 8 times faster, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But, it's words I live by, man. If you don't prepare, then, you're just going to fall flat. And someone like me who takes a lot of extra time to prepare just because I'm so anal about certain things, dude, I have to prep beforehand. I have to get like a drawing done. I need to get that committed to paper. There's like a whole laundry list of stuff that like I feel I have to do before I even show up. Just because I don't want to show up and not have anything sketched and ready to go and just sit around asking myself, well, what do I want to draw or paint today? Because that's half my battle right there.
Right.
Granted, yes, I do tend to default back to the same like few things over and over again, which anyone that's tuned in more than once to this can testify to. You usually catch me drawing like chrysanthemums and snakes, sometimes some peony flowers and some roses, but generally speaking, like it's like my default go-tos, right?
Yeah.
Just because I know that I need to work on my mums. I know I need to work on my peonies. Snakes are like my default, so I sketch those in my sleep. But those are all things that, I know the basic layout. I've sat down, I've broken down their structure enough times that I can sit down and whip them out without even really thinking about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I'm going to go through and start working on, say, a dragon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to want to sit down and find some good references, and I'm going to want to break down the basic shapes of that, right?
Right.
Because then from there, I'm practicing drawing those basic shapes over and over and over and over and over again,
Yep.
and understanding the conceptual flow of how all of those shapes come together to create a dragon head, you know, then I can go through, and if I start practicing putting that together and drawing that 1,000 times each, you know, then that could be something I could work on, just whipping out from nowhere. But
Right.
until I can get that kind of experience and have the time to sit down and really take a look at that, you know, that's something that I know I still need to work on.
Yeah.
So I've got some my reference image over here. This is from an artist, Blind Vulture, and I'll pull him up real quick.
That guy's stuff is pretty incredible.
Dude, it's amazing, and how he hand makes all of the frames for his paintings.
Right. Yeah, it's all the woodwork that goes in with it, like the extras that make those details like just that much more awesome. I was gonna say that much more extra.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll getting that new lingo going.
Trying to, bro. Trying to break out of the norm.
You know, with all of the streaming that we're doing, I think that maybe for the holidays we'll maybe get everybody thesauruses. Although I guess you could just get them online, or you could just go online. But yeah, we should all do like weekly thesaurus exercises. Because everything is so great, it's so awesome. They're phenomenal. It's like so inspirational, life changing.
I know.
Anyways,
yeah.
So just kind of. This is Dan Fletcher working at Kapala Tattoo in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
And like just looking at, his sketches and his drawings, and then I love his paintings. I would love to own one of these one day. And how he's hand making each of the wood frames that he paints on.
Right.
Look at that.
That's pretty awesome, dude. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, and here he is, carving out all the grooves in the frames by hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, just the craftsmanship and the work that he puts into this stuff. Here's a really great Anubis one that he created.
Wow.
And you won't find anything like this anywhere else, because all of this wood was created by him and then painted on top of by him.
Yeah.
So it creates a truly unique work of art.
It's definitely a one-off kind of thing.
Absolutely. Here's 2 birds that he did.
Oh yeah, that's cool how it fits together like that. That's awesome.
And when you start to look at it as a whole piece with the frame included, which is something I don't know if a lot of artists out there really try to take in the whole thing,
right?
Including the frame, the matting, how does that interact with the artwork itself?
Mm-hmm.
When you start to really get inclusive with all of those aspects,
mm-hmm.
you start to look at artwork and the craftsmanship behind it in a totally different level. Especially stuff like this that's painted right on top of the wood.
Is it painted right on the wood? Really? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. If you look carefully, you can see the wood grain.
Oh, very cool.
In the background. And you can see how that carries all the way through into the actual wood molding. I mean, this guy really puts in some time.
Do you know if he has a background in like carpentry or woodworking?
I have
or
no idea.
Like finishing? Because there's carpenters and then there's wood finishers, you know what I mean? And that's more of that fine tuning kind of thing that's going on that he has. I mean, the construction's there for sure, but look at, man, that's awesome. And you know what? On top of the painting being super cool, the wood has this like organic kind of feel to it too.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, he's really taking things to a whole nother level.
I don't know if it's just the photo, but the top of that frame looks like darker than the middle part of it too. I wonder if it's the light catching the stain and everything like that, but still, it still complements it really well, regardless.
Could have been painted, or maybe even some pieces of marble.
Yeah.
Which is something I'd love to start getting into more of, is doing marble inlays on different like craft projects.
Oh man, dude, you're talking about a whole nother beast there.
I know. But there's a place not too far away from me that does a whole bunch of like, marble countertops and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
oh man, look at this one.
Oh, that's killer. It's
Everything from
super.
the Art Nouveau motifs going on and the
Yeah.
design elements around it, to the
Right.
shape of the frame itself, the color palette that's used. It's an incredible piece.
I've always wondered about that. I know some people can bend wood and everything like that, but I think that's like solid pieces that are carved. It looks
Yeah.
like to me, anyways. I mean, I don't know the functionality behind it, but it looks like it's carved.
Yeah, just based on like some of the close-up shots he's done of the wood grain
Mm-hmm.
and like of the process, a lot of it looks like it comes from a solid block.
See, and I know that there's a lot of because I did a floor in my old shop where it was like faux wood floor, and all I did was use plywood, and I made it look like these big old like wide planks. You know what I mean? But I know a lot of people with some of their carving, they'll take 2x4s and kind of glue them together, make them kind of seamless,
Right.
and then they'll start carving out of that bigger block that way too. A lot of times it's a little bit more efficient of a way to implement some of these designs where it's harder to come by big chunks of wood like that sometimes, like naturally
Oh,
anyway.
absolutely.
Yeah, but still, there's still a lot of skill like invested in this and a lot of time invested into it too. And then on top of it, the painting, and like you said, just like conceptualizing all of it. Even it's like two different mediums, coming together.
Maybe he does use multiple layers. Because
There
if
you
this
go.
is the original wood blank,
Yeah.
got another
So
piece there. That's awesome.
so it'd be either like a glued edge or like an actual live edge plank or plywood. And a lot of times you can distress it just right, like even with the Dremel, because I know that's what I did with the wood floors that I did was like I used a Dremel and I literally used like a claw hammer to get some of the gouges in it and stuff. You know what I mean? So pretty fun, but that is way more advanced.
Let's look at some of his tattoos, man. That's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Just the use of line weight in that alone is impressive.
Mm-hmm. It already looks finished.
Yeah, and it's just a line drawing.
Right.
And to me that's something that I personally look at and look for.
Mm-hmm.
In tattooers that I really truly admire a lot is
Yeah.
I look at their use of line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your use of line in any tattoo can really make or break the tattoo. You can
Right.
flatten out an image by using one consistent line weight throughout the whole thing. You can flatten out an image if your lines are too big. You can give it the wrong kind of feel if they're too small.
Right.
So it's a very delicate balance. I mean, granted, maybe I'm just reading into things way too much. I have a tendency to do that, I know. But, to me, it is something very, very important.
Yeah. Well, one of the basics of like when you start to learn tattoo is like solid line work, man. You got to learn that solid line work, as far as being busy and being a newer artist, it's always good to kind of have that in your rapport. You know what I mean? Because no matter what, if you're in a street shop and you're just starting out, you better get a good grasp on that, because you're going to be pretty busy with whatever it is that comes to that door and it's your turn to tattoo. So a lot of it is just little tattoos here and there that are very heavy in line weight. And then a lot of times the smaller stuff that you're doing at the beginning, you have to understand how the line weight is going to work over time and everything like that too. So there's a lot to kind of take in whenever it does come to line work.
Oh, absolutely, man. But it's one of those things where when I was coming up, I used to hear artists, kind of complaining all the time, like, oh man, more Celtic knotwork. Oh, I hate doing Celtic knotwork. I would always raise my hand and say, hey, I'll take it over. That's not a problem. I don't mind it, because to me, that was giving me practice on my line work.
Right. Exactly.
Because every individual tiny little intersecting line in that knotwork was a
Yeah.
chance for me to go through and perfect my lines.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good way to look at it. An
No, but then
opportunity.
I look at everything like that though, so I can't really say that it's unique to Celtic knotwork.
Well, I mean, it's very heavily rendered with line work. I mean, it's the foundation of it, right? So that makes complete sense. Tribal, all that stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's always a chance to practice something that maybe you want to get better at, you know, and it's something that I think I see a lot of newer tattooers and a lot of newer artists out there that, you know, I don't really see them working on the stuff that they need to improve all that often.
Right.
Maybe they are in the background, you know, because I mean, Lord knows how many hours we all put into perfecting our craft and our skills outside of the studio.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like, you know, they find something that they're, you know, good at, you know, for lack of a better term, and then they just say, oh, well, this is my style. This is all I'm going to do because it's what I know I can do well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with some artists about stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's like, but are we looking at the same tattoo? Because that's not, you know, it's not as, I don't know. I know it's a matter of opinion a lot of times, like you're saying, but man, sometimes it's just not that great, you know? You're like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, some people get fixated in, you know, oh, well, I do, say, neo-trad, or I do traditional tattoos. I do black and gray realism. It's like, okay, cool. You do a lot of black and gray realism. That's great. Let's see you execute a traditional tattoo.
Right.
Let's see how well rounded you are and if you have the capability to switch the way that your mind works and simplify everything, right?
Right.
Because I've met plenty of artists in my life that, you know, they might be great at doing one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but that's it almost like it almost becomes one of those like one trick pony shows
Right.
where that's all they do and that's all they know how to do, and they can't do anything else because they don't know how to do that, so they just, well, this is just what I do. And it's like, well, if that's all that you want to become and that's all that you want to do, cool, you know, more power to you. Like if that's your what you want to do, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I would prefer to be well rounded. I would love to be able to turn around and do, you know, traditional tattoos and then switch over to like a realism or a semi-realism tattoo, or, you know, more of an illustrative tattoo, or turn that around and do more of a painterly style, or more of a traditional, you know, Japanese style. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer to be well-rounded because you can start to see aspects of that in the different tattoos that you do of varying styles.
You're talking about how it all lends to each other. Like
Absolutely.
learning one process will allow you to accomplish what it is that you're actually your actual goal is. Because without
Absolutely,
even,
man.
yeah, just the practice
Very,
of it.
very well put.
Yeah, the practice of it. It's like the Book of Five Rings. You ever read that book?
Yes, sir.
It's a good book, man. It talks about things like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not about the actual swordplay. It's about the concept of of realizing that it is swordplay. You know, and it's outside of itself. You know, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, man. That was a really like when I first started like reading that hit me, man.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this dude gets it.
Yep.
He knows.
He knew for sure. Let's see. What's the title? I think I have it right here. Hold on one second. The name.
Forget who wrote it. I know I've got it in my digital library as well.
Musashi.
Musashi,
Yeah, Musashi. And it's called The Book of Five Rings.
highly recommended. I'll probably go back through once we're done recording for today and start to leave some comments as far as like things that we mentioned, because I noticed that with a lot of the videos that we have up, There's
Mm-hmm.
not a whole lot of like description on anything that we mention or anything of that nature.
Yeah, the reference source would be great. Yeah.
So, you know, adding some links to this stuff would definitely, in my opinion, be kind of helpful. Because then people could be like, oh man, I heard this guy mention this and just wish I knew where to find it.
Right.
And again, I think that's half the fun of it, man, is like hearing something that someone else mentions and then having to go and hunt it down.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I was thinking about when I used to listen to tapes, you know, like cassette tapes, and you go in and you love this album, man, and you love the band, and it like really hits you. So you go in and you start reading like who they thank, you know what I mean? You start reading like articles and all like rocker mags and everything like that, man. You try to find out who it is that they listen to, you know what I mean? And you start like tracking it all down, dude. It's great. It's fun. It's fun. It's like a journey of self-discovery almost.
You know, and I think that's something that's lost on a lot of people in this day and age is, you know, they want everything like a direct handout or a direct link. And, you know, sometimes people just don't want to go through and put the effort into finding out these things themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, if it's something that's really going to be beneficial and useful to you, that's cool. And if you really have absolutely no interest on expanding your knowledge base into other things, I get it.
Yeah. Right.
You know, but there's so much more that can be learned if you take the time to do the homework yourself.
Right.
You know, as opposed to going through and, you know, just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to learn about this one thing and never broaden your horizons, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember back when I was starting to learn about tattoo machines, you know, I wish there had been a course like the Tony Urbanic course up on reinventing the tattoo, because I had to go through and teach myself about metallurgy and the different properties of brass and steel and, you know, magnets and magnet theory and spring theory and, you know, all that stuff. So I did a lot of homework and, you know, spent a lot of time researching that kind of stuff just because it's something that I knew was going to benefit me later on in life, even though I only really use rotaries now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you know, it's good knowledge to have.
Still there. It's still there, man. You still got it.
And I still have all my notebooks from when I used to, you know, go to the local college and borrow, you know, books on metallurgy and metal properties and material sciences and stuff like that. You know, I would go through, I would borrow books, I would take them home, scan them, and then like return them in a day or two and take my time to read the rest of it. And I used to take notes the entire time.
Yep. I know what you're saying. You know, that it reminds me of a couple of things that you and I have talked about before. One of them was, you know, teaching somebody how to tattoo, and they come in and the first thing you do is start showing them how to make needles. You know, like, what do you mean I have to learn how to make tattoo needles? Don't we just order those cartridges online and stuff like that? I'm like, yes, we do, but you're going to learn how to make a good solid needle. And it's the foundation of something that's like, you know, bigger than what it is that you're trying to conceive. It's the concept of it. And then, you know, it's also, have you ever, Burt's Bees, for example, there's a documentary about that guy. And he pretty much says, you know, I just went to the library, man. I just picked up some books on beekeeping and just went from there. You know, and he talks about how this stuff is like, it's older than we are. You know, the Egyptians did it. And that's what he was reading about, the history of it and everything, and talking about the history of it. And it just all lends itself to each other. So we just have to kind of tap into it if we're really that interested in it.
Right. The knowledge and the information is there. It's whether or not we want to put the effort into learning it and, you know, receiving that knowledge that ultimately differentiates one person from another person.
Right.
Well, at least that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have
with me. They may not, but
yeah, and that's the beautiful thing is like it can be taken as this is the way you feel about it. You know what I mean? Or this is the way that you view it. It doesn't necessarily make it what you're saying concrete for everybody. You're just saying, hey, give it a try. Give it a go. See what you think, man. See if it helps you. See if it benefits you at all. Try to get out of your like zone, out of your comfort, and try to break into some.
Because unless we get out of our comfort zone, we can never grow and learn.
Right. Exactly.
You know, no matter how painful it may be to get out of that comfort zone, no matter how scary it may be, you know, if we don't get outside of our comfort zone and start to embrace those new challenges, even failures, right? You know, Edison failed thousands of times trying to create the light bulb, but he did create it. You know, it was that 1001st time that he created the light bulb, which changed everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, so to me, it's always fascinating just to see how much people do enjoy being in their comfort zone, you know, and then where that takes them in life. So
I almost wonder sometimes if that dude time traveled. I just never told anybody about it.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't doubt it, dude. Time travel is possible. We know how to do it. We can't let everyone know that we know how to do it.
Right. Just keep it on the DL, man. Just keep it on the DL. Yeah, it's cool. I agree with you. You know, and like you said, you're not trying to make this the end all be all of the discussion. You're just trying to offer people like this opportunity to kind of, you know, the best part about it, I think, Jason, is that like along the way you kind of find some new things about yourself too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like you learn some new things and like you tap into this source that's been around us for so long and way before we have, and you just realize that it's you know, we're kind of like, we're all part of this like thinking, this stream of consciousness, you know what I mean? And we want to tap into it. It's very beneficial.
Yeah, that's if we truly desire to tap into it though, right?
Because
like if we have no desire to learn or grow or be better or do better or progress, and if we're content with where we are, which, you know, don't get me wrong, if you just want to be at a content place in life, cool, great, awesome. You know what level you need to work towards. Right. I'm one of those people where I don't think I could ever be content, you know, because there's always something more to learn or do or get better at. There's always something more to do to improve my own personal skills, my own personal, you know, life and skill set in life. You know, maybe I'm not good at, you know, saving money, for example. Well, there's ways and things that you can do and put into practice that will make you better at saving money. You know, it's a matter of, are you going to put the time and effort into that? Or are you just going to say, man, that's something I would love to be better at one day?
Yeah. Or I'll do it later.
Yeah.
Well, which right now is later, my man.
Exactly. Time is constantly moving forward. So every time when you say later, that next second, that's later.
That's the future. Yeah. Yeah, dude, right then and there.
No,
doesn't that blow your mind sometimes, dude?
It blows my mind. Time is a crazy thing, man.
Well, just the concept of it, you know, like it's not really that real, but like even our memories, you know what I mean? They change as we get older, as our new experiences like unfold in front of us. Like even our memories of things change.
The memories of things change. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are certain chemical substances that can also change our memories.
Yeah, dude. Alter it in some way, shape, or form. Usually the most awesome of ways.
I want to see you go out and start doing 12 shots of tequila and tell me how clear your memories actually are.
No, thank you. If we're talking about a span of like, you know, 9 or 10 hours, then okay. But if we're talking about within an hour, no, thank you.
No, you have 2 hours to finish 12 shots of tequila.
No, I'm good. That part of my life, as far as time goes, is in the past, my brother.
Yeah, you know, you and me both, man. I'd end up waking up in Tijuana somewhere and waking up next to a donkey licking my face, asking myself, what did I do the night before? Like, it gets bad.
You're like, I'm from Philadelphia. How did I end up down here? What the hell is going on?
How did I get here? I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Last thing I remember is Ricardo dared me to drink 12 shots in 2 hours. And then I remember getting on a plane somewhere and
now he's calling me asking me where
I'm
down
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone got the idea that we wanted to do a live webcast from Tijuana, and I said, okay, let me grab my stuff, I think. Which is why I don't drink tequila that often anymore.
Yeah.
Though I do love it.
Yeah, I'll sip on it. I definitely don't shoot that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking take shots of it, but I love sipping on some good tequila, man. It's like a good whiskey. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, man. People don't realize that, though, is that there's a very big difference between like a sipping tequila and a cheap, I'm gonna just pound shots of it tequila, right?
Right, exactly.
Very big difference.
We haven't seen each other for like 12 years. Let's fucking party kind of tequila.
Yeah. Or oh no, my ex just showed up to this party and I really don't want to be here right now, but I'm kind of obligated to be here right now kind of tequila.
The social lubricant tequila.
Yeah. And then there's also the regret tequila, where maybe you don't want to remember what you did last night for one reason or another.
We should just start we need to contact these companies and start telling them we got some new names for you guys, man.
Yeah, seriously. Like the añejos, right?
Yeah.
We'll make those like the nice sipping tequilas, right?
There you go.
And then for like the reposados, those will be like, your casual, like, hey, I'm gonna have a drink, let's have some fun kind of tequila. And then you have your blancos. And then you have your unfiltered, like super, super cheap. I can buy it for $5 a gallon. Tequilas. Those are I really don't care anymore. I'm probably going to wake up with a whole bunch of regret tequilas.
Oh, man. My God, what is that awful smell?
That, my friend, is the smell of regret and tequila. Or shame and tequila.
What am I doing here? What is this shit on my face?
I just don't even ask anymore. I just beeline it straight to the bathroom, wash that shit off, and get back to tattooing.
It's like, dude, it's just part of the.
I don't know what this is, but I need to wash it off.
You're like,
put my pants on and get back to work.
Dude, what is that stuff that mechanics use, dude? That hard scrub.
Oh, the Gojo?
The Gojo stuff, yeah, dude. It's like you just have a bag, like you got your Go bag, right? And inside of it is your Gojo for sure.
Oh yeah, dude. I shower with that stuff daily.
Like I'm just used to it, man. I'm just used to it.
Get rid of the scent of despair and regret really well.
It's hilarious, dude. You're cracking me up. All right, I think I'm starting to get to a point where I'm gonna start doing some color on this guy for Monday night. But I've been thinking about colors, man. I want to ask you your opinion on it too. I'm trying to invoke that that kind of somber or like that. I don't know what the right word, like calm kind of feel, like stoic, calm kind of feel.
So anytime you want to bestow like a calm, more serene, and more of a, how can I put this? More of a lighthearted but not very exciting kind of feel. I usually tend to stick to pastel colors.
Yeah.
Your light blues, your beiges, pale pinks.
The pale pinks, yeah.
Yeah, more like very cool but very light greens.
Yeah. Okay.
Pale lavenders. Keep them pretty pale.
Yeah.
Without going super dark or super saturated. And it usually creates a very, very calming effect. Try to stick to more of a warm palette with one or two cool accent colors. And that'll really help differentiate your warms and cools, but it'll still keep it all on that same color plane.
Yeah. Killer. I like that. Thank you. Because I think it'll be fun to kind of get them in that feel, calm kind of feel. I was like steady looking it up on the internet the other day. What colors invoke what feelings,
Yeah, but that can also be subjective because occasionally you'll run into people that maybe they're color different. Yeah. Or maybe they just, their mind just doesn't work the same way ours does. So they're going to perceive colors in a different way. And then you have people that know about color theory and color emotions, and they can kind of read through whatever it is you're trying to do and see what it is you're truly trying to convey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, a lot of it also can tend to depend on the individual's knowledge base as well. You know, look at like elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, junior highs, stuff like that. There's a reason why you see the hallways usually painted in some kind of like a neutral beige or light blue or very kind of pastel washed out color. And that's because those colors, according to industrial organizational psychology, have been known to have a calming effect. They're very, very neutral, so it allows people to maintain their focus a little bit more. And it helps them just go through and kind of just maintain a little bit more of a level mind, if that makes any sense.
It does. I know exactly what you're saying. It's reminding me of like when you watch those shows on TV and you see the prisons or the county jails and everything's like beige and stuff like that, you know? Just stay calm. What you thinking? I just know that I want it to glow too, you know, because I was like that inner lighting is what we were working on, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, obstructed light.
Obstructed light, that's it.
So centrally obstructed light is what we're really looking at, I believe.
Yeah. She may be.
And centrally obstructed light is where you have a light source, for those of you that might not have any idea of what we're talking about. It's where you have a light source that's being obscured by some object in either the foreground or the middle ground if your light is in the far background. So it's anything that's blocking the direct light source and how that light wraps around that object, which can be pretty tricky.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at the assignment from last week since Monday. I've
Honestly,
had way too much stuff going on.
You and me both, man. I've been moving and stuff and packing and unpacking and dealing with like, you know, the U-Haul's time constraint. And it's pretty funny too, because those guys will give you a quarter tank of gas and tell you to bring it back on the same quarter tank of gas at the same mark. You know what I mean? It's like a quarter tank, huh? All right.
Like, how about I just return it filled?
That's usually what I do, man. It's like, it's just easier, you know? And then if you don't return it at a quarter tank, dude, they charge you $4.40 a gallon for like their price. Like, what?
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's super ridiculous.
You know, but it's like, well, okay, but you can charge me $4.40 a gallon, but I'm going to return it with a full tank.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what are you really going to charge me?
Right. Excuse me. I apologize about that. My allergies are racking up pretty bad around here, man. There's a high pollen count recently. It's crazy.
Oh, dude, you and me both, man.
I try not to, but I end up taking some Claritin and stuff like that, or Zyrtec. It works out pretty well, though.
Yeah, there's certain times of the year where if I don't take Claritin, I'm like a zombie all day long.
Right.
And it's just not good.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, so let's get rid of this reference. I always like taking the reference to a certain point and then getting rid of it and going crazy with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, you know me, I'm more of a, okay, well, let me try to stick closer to a known subject matter as opposed to venturing too far out into the great beyond.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because I like things to really try to make the most sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which isn't always the best way to do it, especially if you're trying to fish for like a new concept, a new idea, or a new way to look at things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I do generally tend to stay pretty logically focused, if that is even a thing.
Yeah. Mindful of the overall goal. Would that be the same kind of thing you're talking about?
Kind of. I like things to make sense in my mind, right?
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
like for example, I had a client come in that said that, you know, they wanted like palm trees and a beach scene on their lower arm, and they wanted a portrait of a lion as like an upper arm half sleeve. And I said, well, that's not going to make sense. You know, let's put the lion on your lower arm. We'll do that nice and big still. And then we'll put the beach scene behind that because that's more scenery, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
background element. So it makes more sense to have a visual progression from something in the foreground on your lower arm. And then in the background, you have this beach scene, as opposed to trying to find a way to mesh a beach scene in the foreground. And then how do we get this lion head to like look right above a beach scene? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. You don't want to just
So
floating. You
that's
don't want to just randomly thrown in there.
right. That's what I'm trying to convey, is that I like things to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both logically as far as perspective, placement, um, and positioning. And I also like them to make sense in my mind, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
lion, say you wanted to have like a lion holding a cigar, right? Lions don't have opposable thumbs.
Right.
And because they don't have opposable thumbs, it's going to look like this holding a cigar, right? He's just going to have like four fingers kind of wrapped around this cigar. That's how he's going to be holding it, because logically that's what would make sense. You're not going to see a thumb there because they don't have thumbs.
Mm-hmm. There's a guy, I can't remember his name. He was doing a lot of, man, what the heck is his name? They a lot of people, I've seen it on YouTube recently, have been coining him as the man that created the style for Disney, basically. We should look it up. I can't remember his name, but he does a lot of caricatures of animals, and he does them in such a believable way that you can tell that, like, you know, there's weight to it. They're kind of consume area and their space, even though it's a two-dimensional, you know, rendering and everything. It's pretty incredible. I wish I could remember his name. I apologize for not knowing.
Come on, Ricardo, get your act together.
I know, man. Tell me about it. Let me grab my computer here in a second. I'll look it up. I'll be right back.
Yep, yep. This is probably going to be way too many pedals. One of my most common issues that I personally run into whenever I'm creating a work of art is overcomplication and way too many elements, especially when I'm dealing with floral subject matter, which I absolutely love. But I always tend to overcomplicate it and put in way too many pedals. So lately I've been trying to work on just simplification and spacing things out a little bit more. So it's just it's a personal goal, is to work on that and get better at that. That's why you see me drawing these like rough ideas for like chrysanthemums all the time, because that's one of the more tricky ones, because you just want to put petals everywhere, right? So I'm just trying to go through and simplify everything and just really space things out a little bit better. so that I can get a little bit better at, just my spatial relationship between what I've got going on, what I'm trying to portray, but still making it so that it's going to be cohesive and busy enough to look like a full piece. And then trying to work within the constraints of this, it's always a little bit more tricky. So I think what I'm going to do is actually hide that layer. We'll add a new layer. Let's try a different tactic. I've seen a few people use this method when drawing chrysanthemums, and looks like it works pretty well. I want to go through and just give this a shot. Essentially what you're doing is you're drawing circles and ovals for the essentially just the tops of the petals, which I always found was an interesting concept. Maybe have that one kind of folded over a little bit more. Maybe we'll have this one folded over a little bit more. But then you can kind of go through and look and make sure everything's not too static. From there, you would go through and you would start to draw like your lines, just plotting out the rough wire structure, the rough wire frame. Always constantly having it move back to central point, because that's how they're going to move around in real life. If you think about it, right, if you could imagine a line going straight through the middle of this sphere that I drew here and coming out, it would probably come out right about there, right? And that's where all of the petals on a chrysanthemum would all sprout from, is this central point where it gets connected to a stem. So I'm always trying to bring all of my lines back towards that central point. Sometimes I'll even draw it on there just to make sure that I'm constantly heading back to this spot. And it doesn't matter what direction you go in with like the directional line of your petal, you always want to try to have it come back to that spot. This is one of many methods, obviously, that people can use to draw chrysanthemums. They can be pretty tricky, because there is usually a lot of movement going on within them. So it's just, one of many different ways to tackle the subject matter. By no means is this the definitive guide to how to draw a chrysanthemum, because it's not. Every artist out there will probably have a different take on the exact same thing. The question is, what works for you as an artist? What does your process lend itself to be? What makes you feel the most comfortable, and what gives you the desired result that you're looking for? That's something that it may take some people a bit longer to go through and figure that out, or to even figure out what the desired result and effect is that they are looking for. In sessions like this where I'm just kind of doodling and I'm not really putting too much thought as far as, what kind of a feeling do I need to have? It's not like this is for an appointment, so I don't really have a genre that I need to stick to. I don't really have anything else that I need to really go through and take into consideration, except for what is it that I'm trying to convey? How do I want this to be portrayed? Because ultimately this painting isn't going to anyone unless someone out there decides to buy it, which all of my artwork is for sale, by the way. So if anyone ever wants to purchase something or commission me for something, I'll happily take on a commission. In fact, I just had someone commission me for a rather large Art Nouveau painting, and I've been bouncing some ideas off of Ricardo about it. Probably once or twice a week, just getting some professional artistic opinions, just seeing
Right.
if maybe I need to work on something visually for my composition. Maybe I need to work on my color scheme. Maybe I need to work on something else. It's just always good to have another art friend to go through and bounce ideas off of and get critiqued on things, and know that no matter what they say, it's not going to be taken in any kind of a malicious way. It's just their opinion. It's what they think, right? Maybe you can point out things that need to be improved upon, but that's why we reach out to people in the first place, is for a critique, for an opinion, to have them point out certain things that we need to improve upon. And if we take that in a negative direction, then what's the sense in even asking someone about it, right? Unless someone just doesn't give you any feedback and they just turn around and say, oh, well, that sucks. Well, that's not telling me anything. Oh, well, I just don't like it. Well, you don't have to like it, but how are the fundamentals? What don't you like about it? What may look off to you coming from an artistic perspective? There's a lot of tattoos out there that I'm not crazy about the subject matter, but I can always find positive things to say about them, right? And it's by finding that positive stuff and then as well turning around and saying, okay, well, I like the way that you did this. I think this could use a little bit of improvement or a little bit more balance. Going through and putting things like that can make a world of difference to an artist. And that's what I really value from a lot of my art friends, is the fact that I get honest, good, constructive feedback about what it is I'm doing. And that alone is going to help take me to that next level. And that's what I'm constantly striving for, is another level of improvement. Granted, as you move up the ladder on different skills, you start to get faced with a lot more challenging conflicts, right? And by facing those challenging conflicts and being presented with those different types of issues, that's when you really start to dive into, not just self-improvement, but art improvement, right? Because maybe I just need to start looking at things in a different perspective, right? That means changing my own view on certain things and then applying that to what I'm doing, right? And that can be a make or break thing. And it all may come from just saying, okay, if hypothetically speaking, let's say this is the traditional way chrysanthemums are drawn, but now I want to take it and let's say I want to do a perspective of a chrysanthemum facing away from me, right? How visually interesting would that be? Because that's going to challenge my own perspective on what I think they should look like. And by challenging my own perspective in that way, it's going to force me to look at things in a different light and accept things that maybe I've never thought about before, right? So, always having art friends and art people that you can reach out to have them break your work down, tell you what you need to work on, tell you what you need to focus on the most. It's absolutely a 100% irreplaceable benefit. And if anyone out there ever wants me to look at some of the work that they do to see what, get some constructive feedback, some constructive criticism, I will be more than happy to. I'm not exactly anyone famous. I still have a lot of work and a lot of improvement to do myself, but I've learned how to break art down into several different things to really look at what tricks are being used, what needs to be improved upon, what might be done to really help them take another step. So, and I'm always available for things like that as well. All you really have to do is send me a message on Instagram or write me an email, and I'll be happy to do that for you.
Yeah, it's always good, man. And, they kind of drop in on what you're saying a little late, but like, I agree with you. And it's been awesome sharing that with you too. Cause like I bounce ideas off you and Bruno and Kier and stuff like that, dude. It's been great to be able to see outside of your own filter. There's a lot of growth there, and like a lot of aha moments, because like you're so stuck in some areas sometimes that other people can look at it, and it's not because they're better than you. It's not because they're, you know, more talented or anything. It's just because they're seeing it from their own filter rather than yours. So it's like stepping outside of yourself. And, you know, some art, there's a fine line, I think, when artists create artwork, because we're so attached to it because it's something that we created. So a lot of times it's hard to kind of make that line clear, where it's like, you know, you shouldn't take it personally. Try not to be so insulted by it. Like, try to take it as like the word says, you know, the actual definition of like the constructive criticism part of it. Like somebody's trying to steer you back on the right path. You know what I mean? So
Oh, absolutely, dude.
I agree with you completely. And it's always good to kind of be able to build that community for each other, where it's like, you know, quote unquote, a safe space for you to kind of, you know, be open to that opportunity, which in itself is a lot of learning and understanding too. So it's just all around is super beneficial.
Oh, absolutely, man. And, you know, it's something that I've always been looking for ever since, you know, I started tattooing, was that community aspect, and that camaraderie that you get from different artists in different fields and different, you know, people that have different perspectives and points of view. I was always looking for that when I was, you know, just starting out tattooing. And you know, through the Reinventing community, like it really, really changed, you know, just the way that I view things. And, you know, it's really helping me take off my own set of glasses and start to see things in a different light.
Yeah. Learning more.
You know, it doesn't mean that I'm always going to agree with it, but at least I can start to look at things from another perspective.
I can't find the artist now, but I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna post it.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I will later.
Are you sure?
Right, I'm pretty sure. You know what I have to do is go through my. I have to go through my. Yes, I'm positive. I'm absolutely.
Because if you're not positive, I don't want you to do that.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure at about 90%, 100% sure.
Well, I mean, if you're almost 100%, but you're not quite 100%, then, well, you know.
I would say I'm leaning more towards like the 90 to 93.5% sure that that's going to happen.
93.5% is acceptable. That is an acceptable percentage.
All right, killer. But yeah, what I had to do is go through all my YouTube, my search history on YouTube. And I think I remember the date that I started watching that. It was like right after Christmas. So I'll go back to around that timeline and I'll be able to send it, or at least post a link or something. The guy's a great artist, phenomenal. But it just reminded me of it because you were talking about, like, you know, how do you make a lion hold a cigar? You know, like this guy was incredible at doing stuff like that, man. It's just so wild to see him think out of the box, like his sketches.
Well, you know, it's one thing that obviously you have to kind of bend reality to your will in a way when you're doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which it takes talent. It takes a lot of talent to be able to do that. There's no getting around it and no debating it. You know, it takes an enormous amount of talent to do that.
Yeah.
And it takes a different way of viewing life and viewing the world and viewing structures in order to accomplish that.
And lots of drugs.
I mean, those are helpful.
But yeah.
Yeah, anything to help you get an edge over the competition, right?
There you go. That's a good way to look at it. That's what I'll tell the officer. Let me see here.
You tell them that. I'm just going to tell them that you told me to do it. So
that sounds fine to me. And I'll just be like, wait, who? What?
I'm going to be like, yeah, this guy named Ricardo just told me that I should do it and it would be fine. Apparently he was wrong.
That dude was way wrong. Well, sir, I'm sorry to tell you, he has no idea what he's talking about.
So you mean it's not a good idea to trip on peyote for 2 days and then when you're peaking to go through and start tattooing someone without any kind of stencil or design?
Pretty much.
Also, can you move the camera up? We're tired of staring at your feet.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Here, how about that? Is that better?
No, because you didn't move the camera at all.
But I mean, can you see the laptop or the iPad? Let me see.
You've got a lot of glare on it.
All right, let me move this thing around. Thank you for letting me know. I don't want people.
Most people just don't want to look at your feet. Not that I think you have, ugly feet or anything, but I'm definitely just not a fan of feet. So some people like them. I'm just not one of those people. Some people like them a little bit too much.
All right, there's less feet in this section, I believe.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know, man.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Always like to watch your process and see what you're working on, and maybe steal some knowledge from you as well.
Minus the feet.
Yes. Because I mean, come on, they're feet.
Because I mean, come on, man. All right, so I'm gonna take.
Oh, so actually, Ricardo, while I have you on here, I did want to pick your brain about that commission painting that I'm working on.
Right.
So I'll show you guys how that's coming out. So I still have to reach out to the person that commissioned it from me to find out like if they like this idea of having like a little monogram at the top.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah.
I kind of threw it together and I'm like, you know what? I like the idea because it makes it something a bit more personal, as opposed to just being like, here's a painting. Like it's a painting that they commissioned for them to hang in their house.
Yep.
So to add like a little monogram in it, I felt would be appropriate. So I want to get some feedback from them on that. Maybe they've got one that they already use. Who knows?
Or like some kind of logo or something like that.
Right. So I want to take a look at that and just see what they thought about it. I think I've decided on like this kind of a layout, rough idea for the layout.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was really debating on was what am I going to do with these tiny little like Art Nouveau symbols that are bordering this peony? Do I want to keep it kind of the way that it is with like those triangles in there? Do I want to switch it over to being more of like a crescent moon? Because I can do that as well.
Yeah.
How do I want to tackle that that issue? Because there's so many different ways that you can do it that, I could go through and instead of doing that, I could take, this and do something more of like, like a little oval in the middle of it instead.
Right.
I could do a square. I could do any number of different things. I do kind of like the triangular aspect of it though. Just because I feel that it takes this rounded shape, these rounded shapes, and really does help kind of break them up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is like you're putting more angles in it to kind of separate it, but kind of make it cohesive. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm interpreting? Okay.
Correct.
I like that idea.
It's a repeating natural pattern that creates visual stability, but at the same time, it's contrasting these naturally round areas.
Right. I mean, so far I like it. It's just, I guess you would have to put some complementary colors in there. And I know with like Muka stuff, there's a lot of earth tones and a lot of like burnt values, like, you know, like some oxblood reds and stuff like that. He has some teals and everything like that, which I think is in replacement is what you're doing with the blue. So I wouldn't go with anything too bright. I think anything that I did, I would do all like on a real like dark, or like a darker kind of value of any color that you use. So if you use reds, you just go like with a burnt red or burnt orange or like some olives and stuff like that in there too.
Ooh, olive. I didn't think about that color.
Yeah, the olives would be great.
I'll pull up some Muka.
And earlier you were talking about the
mint green color. I like that.
Yeah, and you can see those reds, those burnt reds going into like whitish oranges and stuff like that too. Yeah, like peaches. Yeah, like up there you have that same blue on that top right portion.
Right.
For the background, and you can see the way the olive works against it in the black. It looks pretty nice. And then there is definitely some like negative play in it too. Some positive on negative stuff.
Love this combo. This like
that's
peachy
great.
Orange next to that light blue.
Yeah, I think I would start playing around with some of those, like create a whole new layer and just mask it off and then try to play with some of those peaches first. That's usually my thing with colors. Like I'll have to kind of go through and just lay a bunch of tones next to each other before I start kind of tightening it all up, you know?
It's a good idea. Good way to do it.
Yeah, it keeps it loose, you know, kind of helps you see the colors together, how well they're going to work, where they're next to each other. And then you even have the browns and stuff like that, like inside that framework even, you know, beige and brown would work out pretty well against that blue that you have.
Well, so it's kind of hard to see on the screen as it is. But what I did was I actually tinted the canvas that I'm drawing on to be this like medium neutral tone tan, right?
Mm-hmm. So
it's not a pure white and it's not a neutral gray. It's got a little bit of that warmth to it.
Yeah,
initially.
It does. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Evelyn. Just saw your comment on Facebook. Just wanted to say hi.
Hello. Facebook world. How's it going?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna throw in some some of that neutral or some of that like pale mint green color.
Yeah, that might work out really well.
Because I figure if I do the mint green up here in the background of this ridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll make it a little bit cooler. Almost like a cucumber green.
Okay.
Right. So right now I'm just looking at the background.
So fast.
What?
The way you masked it off and everything like that, man. I'm gonna have to sit down with your ninja skills and figure it all out with you.
Oh, I didn't mask anything off.
Oh wow. Okay. You're just going.
I have. So the way I have it broken down is I've got. So this is like my condensed line work layer, right? Which I have set up as a reference. And I decided to go through and add a thicker interior line last night. So I actually have to merge these.
Incredible.
Right. So that layer stays separate and you can lock it. I usually use it as a reference layer for whenever I want to select individual layers. When you do that, anytime you use your selection tool, right, set on automatic, it's going to reference this line work layer. So as long as you have everything with nice solid lines, I can go through and select these individual little triangles.
Radical.
and then switch right over to my paintbrush and start painting, and it's going to paint on the correct layer. But anytime I use the selection tool, it's going to be referencing that outline layer.
It's like magic. Uh-oh.
It's okay. 2-finger tap to undo, and you'll get right back to where you are. If you end up running into that situation where it starts to get almost too close for comfort, right? Like there, you just zoom in a little bit. That usually helps.
Stay in the lines, man.
What if I don't like coloring inside the lines?
My box of crayons didn't come with instructions.
Exactly. And even if it did, who says we have to follow them? This is art.
Right. Yep. Very interpretational. I like that. I mean, from what I can tell so far, it looks pretty. But you're not going to do that purple, though. You're going to do the minty color.
Purple? Where did you get purple from?
I don't know, man. I just thought I saw. There it is. Okay, there's a green. All right.
You just said the word purple.
I did. I thought I saw purple.
Are you thinking in color now? Is that what you're doing?
I think so, man. I think so. The world is kicking in on me. I took a healthy dose of it recently.
Oh, is that what they're calling it these days? The world?
That's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, sure. If that's what you want to believe, bud.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that green might stand out a little bit too much.
Yeah. Try to put some of that like oxblood red in there and see how that works with it.
You think?
Try it.
Almost like a burnt, kind of grayed out reddish tone.
Yeah. It's definitely popping.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to draw too much attention to that circle.
Maybe just make it like a more pastel. But you can see in the one on the right. But that's more
see how much that red comes out against all of those blues and greens?
Yeah, I do.
So I think I'm going to stay away from red. I think that's just going to be too intense of a color.
Right. Like no matter how soft it might be.
What I am thinking though is if I go with like more of a desaturated green.
That's what I was going to think, like an olive or less intense. It definitely settles in there.
Warmer desaturated. Yeah, maybe like an olive would work. Although I'm going to have a lot of olive in the leaves of these flowers to begin with.
Right.
So I do like the way that that's turning out.
Yeah. You could always pull like a gradient into it too, from the bottom up to kind of keep it away from the same olive in the leaves. Yeah.
This is just a color study for the painting that I actually do. Colors during the actual painting may vary slightly.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks great. There you go. And then whatever you do for the design element inside of those circles, it almost be the same kind of thing, where it'd be a gradient.
See, I wouldn't want to do each individual circle as a gradient. I would want to keep because you already have a gradient as far as size is concerned, right?
That's true.
And if you already have that visual gradient there based on size, you're not going to want to overcomplicate that because that'll just be too much visually to go through, and it's just going to complicate your eyesight. It's going to complicate the piece, and you already have a very complex shape right here. So I'm trying to keep this a little bit more simplified to allow this to really come forward more as one of the more complex areas. But now the question is, what color do I do the background here? Do I do this in that like weird off-tone blue? And then fill the triangles in with that metallic gold tone, like I plan on doing?
You're right. All the little triangles,
do I want to go through and do the background in that metallic gold tone and then go through and do the triangles in the blue, which I think actually might work pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And having that green there is going to do nothing but accent the blues and the golds, because what color does blue and yellow make?
Green.
Exactly. So it might be a nice little cohesive transition there.
Yeah.
But let's play around with it and find out.
Let's do that.
So if I do, this is going to be the off-tone bluish gray that I use. See, I think that might blend in a bit too much. Maybe if I went with like a lighter blue gray. This may appear a bit too white on the screen. No, it's coming up in a nice, like lighter bluish tone. Maybe I'll make it a bit more gray. Gray it out a little bit. See, and then if I set the gold in front of that, actually going to do this again. I'm actually going to erase all of this background color. I'm going to put that on a new layer. That way I can play with colors. Turn our drawing assist back on. Yeah, color balance and color harmony are critical key factors in any kind of image where you want to draw attention to one specific point.
It's as important as perspective lines that can be.
Absolutely. So now that I've got that done, let's create a new layer. Right? And now I'm going to go through and select these triangles.
Well, yeah. All right, gotta get comfortable here.
Okay, so let's see how this is going to look if I do this. So if I do that, how would that look? I think those circles are too bright. So let's go through and adjust that. So we're going to take the brightness down a bit. Purple. Ooh, that would look nice.
That looks
I think
pretty
you were right,
good.
Ricardo.
Yeah,
I think purple was the way to go.
it works out pretty well, man. It's nice from what I can see on the screen as far as the color goes. It's just like, I mean, purple and gold, you know what I mean? They go together so well. That looks great, Jason. You can really see that like earthy, the orangey kind of tint coming through that gold too. Especially when you do that actual, what is that, like a metal flake or what do they call that? The paper, the gold leaf? Is that what you plan on
Mm-hmm.
doing with it? You're going to gold leaf it,
Yep.
right? Nice. That's going to be killer, man. I really like the layout too. Like you nailed that composition. Nailed it. It frames it out so nice, dude. Like it just pulls your eye right into it.
My only concern with the layout is
Mm-hmm.
since I'm going to go for a full gallery wrap on each side, how am I going to get the design to wrap around the edges?
Hmm.
Because I mean, looking at a lot of Muka's stuff, it's all very, I hate to say the word flat,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all very constrained, right?
Yeah.
Within, very specific types of borders and boundaries. And occasionally you'll see him go outside the boundaries, but a lot of times it's very, very framed off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. If I was working on paper, that's exactly what I would want to do. But because I'm going to be working on a full gallery wrap canvas and I have an extra 1.5 inches on each side going along the sides of that canvas, how am I going to want to incorporate? Maybe I could just add like some little design motifs along each side. That
It
could be cool.
could. Yeah. I think with his stuff, so there's always that negative border around the whole thing. But I mean, I know what you're saying because you don't want the left or the outside perimeter, which is the sides of the frame, to be just white, just negative, right? Is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to. So when I go through to actually paint this, I'm going to be tinting the canvas
Mm-hmm.
to give myself more of a neutral tone to work off of to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably tint it like a very neutral kind of like weird grayish brown tone just to give myself a nice neutral kind of antique tone to begin with.
Nice.
And then from there, it's basically any color that I lay over top of it. If I thin it out a bit, I'm going to have that neutral brown that's going to change the color of the underlying paint that I use.
Right.
And one good way to do that is if I go with like a multiply, no. Ooh, I like that green, that teal color.
That's awesome.
That's a nice light blue.
Yeah, I
That
like that.
blue.
That's almost perfect.
I'd have to do that pretty opaque. Or I could just mask off the canvas as I'm staining it. These are all the complications that you run into when you're trying to create like a really visually impressive piece.
Yeah. And it's okay to work it out exactly the same way that you are. Nothing's like set in stone. I think one of the things about Muga's stuff is that it's all color wash, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that real soft like what you're saying about the doing the whole canvas a certain tone. You can tell that almost the entire canvas is approached that way, like the watercolor canvas that he might have used, where he, blocks it all out with that simple wash in the background and starts building up on top of that. So might be something to take into consideration whenever you're like approaching how you're going to do the canvas.
Yeah, it almost seems like he tints the, and I'm not sure if he's working on paper here or if these are actual canvas paintings. Pretty sure it's all paper.
I think it is paper. I think it's just big pieces of watercolor, like pressed watercolor paper.
Yeah, so in order to get that same kind of like a tonal effect, I would have to go through, use my absorbent ground. And then I've got like a little atomizer sprayer, like pump spray bottle that I picked up at an art supply store. I
Nice.
usually use like a little bit of thinned out acrylic ink to tint canvases like that. So I go through and I'll just do like a light spray of that all over it just to tint it and then paint right over top of that. That allows my whites to come out even brighter, or anything that I mix with white to come out even brighter. And that should give me that same kind of antique paper kind of look.
Right.
I'm going to set this back to normal. And go through and do some color correction here. I do have to say, this is one of the beautiful things about working digitally, is that you have the ability to go through and play with colors and change tones and, you know, modify layers and stuff like that very, very easily. Maybe I'll make it this nice, like washed out teal color instead of the blue. I'll make it a little bit warmer. And then what I can do is I can take this and I can say, let's make this an alpha lock, right? So it's only going to paint on the areas that have already been painted on. So that could give me a nice kind of negative space effect if I did that the same color as the background. Maybe I'll just use black. Never have too much black. No, that's too dark. Unless I went through and did this. No, that wouldn't work. Too bold, too contrasting. Oh boy, what am I going to do here?
Dilemmas. Let's see what you got.
Go with like a more vibrant teal. No, maybe pinkish. Maybe more of a pink tone, like a washed out lighter pink tone.
Let's see some mocha prints real quick.
You know what would be a good idea?
What's that, boss?
If I select that, I can use this handy dandy trick in Procreate called Harmony.
Okay. Oh, yeah. There you go.
And I can do a split complementary with this guy. Or let's try this guy. It's like a pale red or a pale purplish pink. Yeah, let's go with that. And then up here for the background, switch over to this pale red. No, too similar.
I think would these colors work out pretty well for it?
The dark blues?
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, the separation in them is like what makes them, oh shit. But I think makes them work so well. Like you can tell that there's some olives and stuff like that inside of it too. You know? And those like lighter blues combined with it.
I think the reason why that works so well is because you have such a light blue, like crescent shape bordering the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm. And there's a negative gap in it too. There's a negative gap that separates them just a little bit too. So it's not so dark directly against that blue. It's like you have that white. I think that's the one thing about a lot of his stuff is that no matter what in the pattern, there's a few of them that go straight up to the other tones, but it seems like there's a negative gap in between the colors to kind of help with the separation. And I think that might be what's happening right now is like there's not enough separation in them. Man, his stuff is so great. I love his work. It's so awesome. It's tricky. Here's the one that you have. Let's see. What about olive and I don't know if you can see the color come through on the screen here, Jason, but the photo you have, you've referenced these two as well. On the one on the left, you can see how you have the same colors in the background here for your like behind the peony. And then here you have these olives and these like washed, like, I don't know what kind of teal that is. It's almost like a bluish teal, but it's not intense. It's very like, pastel kind of color. So it's almost like he has some olive that blends into those teals. That might work out pretty well too.
Yeah, maybe if I go with like a lighter olive tone.
Yeah, because I know we keep going into the fact that like there's going to be the olives and the leaves, but you could put more whites in some of the either that shape, the circular shape that you're creating the border with, or you could do that in the leaves instead. It's crazy, man. Isn't that wild? Like you look at his paintings, they look so simple, and then you start to try to like render one in your own style, and you just realize how difficult it can be.
Yeah, man, it's amazing when you look at like master artists, right?
Yeah.
And you look at what they do and how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try to like apply that to your own work.
Yeah.
It can be really difficult.
Mm-hmm. I always remember seeing people going to museums when you're allowed to go into a museum or inside a place without a mask on and stuff. And I can't remember when that was. Like probably like a lifetime ago, right? But
right.
Anyways,
yeah, maybe 2 lifetimes.
Yeah. You every once in a while I would come across an artist that was like, painting a painting in the style of the artist that they're rendering, and I always kind of was like, what are they doing? But I get it now. Like they're trying to understand the process behind it. Like stepping out of the, like, again, like what we were saying, stepping out of their own element. Not replicating it for sale or anything, but replicating it to understand it.
Right. And I think it's a big thing, and it's a huge challenge that, being an artist, we face all the time is how can I understand this idea or this concept to a greater depth than what I currently do?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can only go so far with our innate knowledge of what it is we're doing.
Yeah.
Before we get to a point where we've exhausted that knowledge and it's time to learn more.
Mm-hmm. Here you go, Jason. Here's another picture that has those a much simpler kind of blended version of those tones that we're looking for. I can send this one to you if you'd like me to.
It's that grayish teal next to that peach.
Yep, exactly. And there's definitely, I don't know if you can catch it in the video, but there's definitely some olive kind of tones in there too. Like I said, I think he went in with the light blue first and then goes back in with the darker tones afterwards to kind of help separate the foreground from the background even more. Because like you said, it is pretty flat, but there's still a lot of pop. I mean, the line weight alone helps that, right? But the color is definitely complementary to all of it.
You know what? Let me just go through. Actually, I'll take.
I don't think I've seen this one. This one's pretty muted.
Make a palette.
Here's some more muted tones too.
Yeah, I think you were right. I think a muted olive tone, like a washed out muted olive, is going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
And then on the interior, I'll probably do. I want to stay away from pale yellows because those peonies are going to be pale yellows.
Right.
I want something a little bit more of like maybe this pale burgundy. No. Maybe this like off-tone gray. I think that would work well. Maybe even making that green, that olive tone maybe a little bit more saturated.
Mm-hmm.
Gives it that kind of vintage-esque look. And maybe I'll go back through with no. I don't think I'm gonna, if I go with that color scheme that I have there now, I don't know if I'm gonna go with the metallic gold.
Uh-huh.
Even though I really kind of want to, just to kind of tie that metallic gold in together. That's not too bad.
Looking pretty good. I like
this
that.
is almost like an off-tone, like mauve color. So it's got like a little hint of purple mixed into it, like a warmer purple, but definitely more of a gray tone.
Yeah.
This washed out green next to this gold, this metallic gold that I'm going to throw in there. Same thing with the metallic gold in the arrows. That could work. And that would keep it nice and subtle, and in the background allow that metallic gold to stand out even more.
I like where you're going with that.
And let's adjust this color tone. match the background of the other portion of it so that everything is cohesive. Awesome. I did notice that there was one thing I forgot to do on my line layer. I'll go through and do that now. And I figure maybe like another 15 minutes or so, bud.
Sounds good to me, boss.
Right on, man. And we should probably get together and figure out another time to Zoom so that we can work on that collaborative project together.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I have a couple ideas for that, and that's definitely a good idea. So we can, I was going to run some ideas for like pattern and stuff like that by you and see how you felt about it. Yeah.
I mean, if you're coming up with the ideas, I'm pretty sure I'll be fine with it.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. But I definitely wanted to run it past you.
You're like an art genius, dude.
Whatever, dude.
Why do you think I ask you so many questions? Why do you think I call you at like 2 a.m. asking your opinion on things?
Dude, it's awesome. Keep on doing it, man. I love it. It's great. Like,
why? You're never awake.
At that time, I'll be honest with you, at 5 o'clock in the morning, whenever I text you back, because I'm awake at that point in time, then we'll just keep it rolling. Because by then you're like asleep for what? Like an hour and a half, maybe?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. We're like flip-flopped, aren't we? But yeah, man, let's do it. If you want me to text you, I can text you a couple times, and I'm pretty much available all day today. Like I said, I got my new apartment going. I don't know if you saw, it was kind of messy in the background and stuff like that, but I got a washer and dryer up in here, man, in the kitchen. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's actually something that I'm going to be doing today is a bit of spring cleaning.
Yeah.
I've got like an absolute disaster in my art room. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go through and start organizing and rearranging and doing some spring cleaning, throwing some stuff out. Which, by the way, if anyone is watching and you live in the suburban Philadelphia area and you want a glass top drawing table, let me know. I have one, and I'm probably going to be putting it out on the curb today. So if you want it, it's yours. Robert just made a comment on the Facebook page. Where can I get one of those computer pen programs to draw stencils? So one thing that you can do, what Ricardo and I are both drawing on right now is an app called Procreate for the iPad. And it is absolutely awesome. It's kind of like Photoshop. If you would prefer to have something more at a stationary computer area, you may want to look at Adobe Photoshop or Sketchbook Pro. There's also another great program called Clip Studio Paint. All of those are great for basically getting your line drawings done, doing some stencil work and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's any number of potential options. If you did want to be able to draw on a screen, I would highly recommend picking up a Wacom tablet as well. So, I mean, you're going to need some type of a surface that's touch sensitive for you to draw on it, as well. So you're going to need some type of a peripheral device to plug into a computer in order to have that touch sensitivity to draw on it. Or you can buy an iPad. They can be pretty expensive, or you can get the iPad Air, which is like some of the newer ones are just as good as the iPad Pros and cost a fraction of the price. So that's what I would recommend.
I would go with your opinion. You know way more about this than I do. So,
I mean, yeah, but Ricardo, I also worked in the IT field for almost a decade.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So I mean, I've got a little bit of a leg up on you there.
Got a little bit of a leg up on me there, bud.
Cool. Well, I got that done. So let me lock my reference layer again. I'm going to start blocking in some color tones. And I'll probably start out up here. I'm almost at the point where I'm going to pick up my stretcher bars, and I've decided I'm going to paint this using linen as opposed to cotton duct canvas.
Mm-hmm.
To give it a little bit of a smoother surface texture. Let's go with a little bit more of an olive drab. And part of the reason why I'm going to go with linen as opposed to standard cotton duct is because I wanted to have a very smooth surface finish. I don't want to have too much of a canvas texture in it. So that's kind of part of the reason why. The other reason why that I want to go with a linen as opposed to a cotton duct is because I've never worked on linen before, and I hear it's absolutely incredible.
That's what I hear too.
So I'm going to pick up like a roll of that, which is going to cost me a small fortune, but
yeah,
you know, I figure I don't do too much canvas painting anyway. So, I mean, if I end up using it all, cool. If not, well, then someone's going to get a really nice Christmas gift this year.
There you go. I'll give you my address.
Ricardo, I'll give you my address and you can come and pick it up. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me, boss. I think I'm going to be coming out there anyway, so.
Good luck trying to take it on a plane with you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's going to go over too well with TSA.
Oh, those dudes are cool, man. They're fine. They'll understand.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not. They're Rickster.
Yeah. I don't know, Cotton. I don't know. Just starting off very light, very sketchy, just blocking in color, which is another thing I'm trying to get better at, is just blocking in and then refining, blocking in and then refining.
Yeah, that's that sketching kind of process, right?
Yeah. I always just use like a sketch pencil for blocking in, and then if I need to, I'll go back through and smooth it all out using a blender.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, check this book out that I forgot that I had. Real quick before we hop off, I have this book. I don't know if you can see it.
Book of facial expressions?
Yeah.
Did you find my photo in that?
Dude, I did. You're in here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I love this thing, man. It's full of like just random like.
Oh man, that would come in such handy.
Dude, it's so great. Like this was a Google when I bought it. You know what I mean? Like this was Google before it was Google, basically. But I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's got like, you know, some examples that people have used for caricatures and such. But there's old people, younger people, men, women, heavy, skinny. It's awesome, dude. I love it. I think I'm going to use it for the Monday night class because I think I might put a face in the picture that I'm going to try to finish for tomorrow night. Like a guy holding a lantern kind of squinting behind the light. You know what I mean?
Right.
Obstructed lighting. Especially when I was looking at Guy's stuff, like he really went all out with the environment that he was creating too, you know?
Yeah, which, I mean, that's cool. You know, I think as long as he keeps that background pretty simplified and obscured in the background, I think he'll be all right with it. You know, I would just hate to see it become too complex and take away from, you know, his primary subject matter.
Right. Which I definitely don't want to do with mine either. But yeah. Well, killer, man. How about I send you a text and let you know when a good time is to sit down and go over that project that we're working on, that big cover up.
Sounds awesome, man.
I'm gonna hop off here and get the rest of my day going before that.
Yeah, good call, man. Good call. Why don't you let me pin you or spotlight you? There you go. And give us a quick sign off.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ricardo Sertivant. Thank you, Jason, for having me on your show and stuff, man. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you, everybody at Reinventing. You can contact me on at Instagram under at Candor Tattoo. Give me a call. Let me know what's up. Whatever works. Just hanging out. That's it.
Awesome. So I'll go through and everyone, thanks for joining us today. Let me remove Ricardo's spotlight and I'll spotlight myself. So everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jason Leeser. I host these drawing groups every Sunday around 1. Feel free to jump in anytime. If you ever have anything that you want covered or a topic to discuss, something that you might feel is relevant in today's tattoo world or art world, feel free to, send me a message or drop me an email. One thing that Ricardo and I keep discussing and talking about is this reinventing the tattoo community. If you are a tattoo artist and you are looking to pick your work up to that next level, I cannot recommend this enough. I was skeptical at first, signed up for it, was a little hesitant about it, right? Because I had already read it. I already had the book, wanted to see what was new. This new platform that they're working on and all the new content that they've added over the past 6 months alone is worth more than $1 a day. And I actually have like a little promo code that I'll throw up there. If you guys are looking for a little bit of a discount, feel free to hop on. And if you really want to take your work to the next level, it's reinventingthetattoo.com/next level. Pick up the subscription. It's at less than $1 a day. You get personal critiques from Guy. You get to work with a lot of other hardcore artists that are all about just trying to help everyone move their work up to that next level. We're all constantly working with each other, trying to help each other improve, sharing information. You really can't go wrong with it. Plus, you get access to all of the great new content, including different areas from Steve Butcher and Russ Abbott. I think, Ricardo, you said you were working on a little excerpt to add to it.
Yep.
I know I'm working on a little bit of a chapter to add to it. We're all kind of collaborating and getting all of our stuff together. And it's turning out to be absolutely phenomenal and well worth more than what they're asking for it. Feel free, take a look. Like I said, it's less than $1 a day. If you're a tattooer and you're really trying to take your work up to the next level, you should be able to make that back in a week, if that. So feel free, take a look. The only thing it can do is help. On top of that, if anyone ever needs to get a hold of me, feel free to hit me up on Instagram if you're in the suburban Philadelphia area and you'd like to, come in and get a tattoo. If you want to contact me for a commission painting, feel free to send me a direct message on Instagram at Philly Inc. And I will be more than happy to go through and discuss all of your ideas and, make your dreams come true. Make your tattoo ideas, make your painting commissions, whatever. Just let me know. And I will be, once again, more than happy to go through and talk with you guys about just about anything. So on that note, I want to say cheers. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Ricardo, as always, thank you very much. Gabe,
Thank you, man.
As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for facilitating and running this whole thing in the background. Thank you to Guy Aitchison for creating this amazing community. And hopefully I will catch everyone next Sunday at 1 p.m. for next week's drawing group. There's also a great drawing group tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. With Jake Meeks, who runs the Fireside Tattoo Network. If you're familiar with his stuff, awesome. Feel free to join the Reinventing community. Jump in on the app. You can ask us all, great questions. Otherwise, go check out his YouTube channel. It's got some really dynamite information on it. So thank you very much for joining us today, everyone, and cheers.
Later, y'all.